And I think that that's still quite rare, that we really take away adult privileges to uphold the rights of children. And a lot of that has to do with traffic reduction, reducing the number of cars and vehicles on the road. And I know that's a hard battle.
In 2019, this wide open intersection in a residential neighborhood in Montreal was transformed into l'île aux volcans, the island of volcanoes, a public space for children intended to encourage non programmed free play, something that's become less and less common in the modern world of attention grabbing technology like tablets and YouTube. Hey, wait a second.
We took what we considered to be excess street, the street that really wasn't necessary, closed it off to through traffic, and built a kind of space that we really don't see in cities much.
This is one of those projects that makes Montreal such a fun city to cover for urbanism.
My name is Stephanie Watt. I'm the co-founder and co-director of Metalud, and I'm a former city councillor here in Montreal.
This is right beside a community center that tons of kids bike to for summer day camps. There's also a high school, multiple daycares, and popular bike routes nearby.
So I was city councillor at the time, and I really had this dream of school streets and play streets and of diverse play spaces. So making the city really interesting for kids, either on their way places or create interesting destinations.
Child oriented street closures have proliferated in the city over the past few years, mainly near schools and community centers. But even 5 to 10 years ago, they were new and contentious.
School streets and play streets were considered scary things. We weren't doing them.
But they took a chance, starting with an intersection that had some extra room.
And let's try it. Let's try a new kind of space. Let's try new kind of play infrastructure. And so I guess it was my idea, and the borough took a risk. We all took a risk. We found great designers who understood the language of play. And this was born 2019. So this was a first project. So it couldn't be too difficult, too complex in terms of street closure.
It's also a pretty dense neighborhood.
I really wanted it to serve people who do not have yards, access to yards, people who, for instance, only have a balcony as a outdoor space. And so we see behind me here lots of apartments with balconies. And so we wanted a place where there would be eyes on the street. Parents and people living in apartments can look down and see what's going on. So sort of that like natural indirect surveillance.
They were going for more creativity than a traditional playground.
They created this like fantastical world. So free play, risk taking. Hills are always really popular with play. You can hide behind them, you can climb them, you can slide down. And so they wanted also to offer diversity of surfaces, because we know that when there's concrete and when there's like natural surfaces, you can combine play. It like gives more options and more choice. And so there was this decision to leave this street as is. That is, not naturalize it, not green it, to allow for biking, hopscotch, ball playing, and also people can bike through here, as we see people bike through here all the time.
It's also more flexible.
It's not like a typical playground made of metals and plastics, and we rarely revisit those spaces. We build them and we come back 20 years later when we renovate them again. This space requires a bit more attention and care and upkeep. And it makes it an even more interesting space because there are changes every year. And the latest change was this bike infrastructure. They removed some benches and some rocks. Apparently there was children who asked for such type of bike infrastructure. It promotes mobility, like kids might not think of bringing their bikes here maybe, and now they can.
Did we mention that there's a box of toys, a little library, and a cat to oversee everything? There was some worry about risks posed by snow and ice in the winter at first, but as it became more of a fixture of the neighborhood, they learned to see benefits and not just risks.
We did keep it open, but there was like all these like poles to indicate potential risks that might hide under the snow. But we found ourselves with like 200 poles. It actually created more danger. Now it's really a neighborhood play space. People know it. They play in it all year. And so they understand it in the winter. Now we trust people in their own risk benefit analysis. The snow is important, to play. The snow is this wonderful play material. And so here there's an abundance of it.
What about opposition to the project?
Yeah, there was. Change is hard. There was concern about traffic, about cars. Where would the cars go? We got rid of, I don't know, like 10 parking spots maybe, and everything's okay. Showing that we were present every year, coming back and making small modifications also sent the message that we care, we're involved. If something isn't going right, let us know.
Some people wanted to stop the project, but they also had support pushing them to do more.
People propose modifications, but not necessarily like you must do less, but modifications you must do more.
And obviously, with something new, a lot of people genuinely don't know how it's going to work.
Will I still have garbage pickup? What happens if I need repairs, emergency repairs? Will hydro be able to come by? Uh, Really legitimate concerns. What about lighting? What about littering at the site? What about? And the borough went back and really worked on answering all of those questions.
You want the adults on board, but in the end, they're not the real target audience.
The kids were overjoyed though. A lot of the concerns were from adults, and the kids that we did meet, they were, happy to have a new play space right in front of their home.
Sometimes, to build a child friendly urbanism project, you need to make adults a little uncomfortable.
I think what I want to say about the project is that really proud of it because it might have made some adults uncomfortable. We wanted to offer more to children and allow them to see themselves in the city, feel that they belong, that they're considered, whether it's for their play, their socialization, their mobility.
Since this project, Montreal has seen a lot more child oriented urbanism. This street in front of a school in the plateau has iteratively evolved from this in 2022 to this in 2023, and now this in 2024. This street between two sets of school buildings in Rosemont first got curb extensions in 2020, and then got blocked off to traffic in 2021, and then got painted by the kids in 2022, and today it has picnic tables and installations for kids to bike and scoot. This road in the East End between a community center and a school got closed off so that kids could more safely cross. This road, beside a small park near a pretty high traffic intersection in the neighborhood of NDG, was blocked off and decorated with paint, greenery, picnic tables, and ping pong tables. This road along the edge of a park in the neighborhood of Côte des Neiges got a similar treatment, except that instead of being just for kids at the park, it also gives more space to the crowds of university students going from the nearby metro station to the University of Montreal. Here are 5 lessons we'd draw about child-oriented urbanism projects. First, to prioritize kids, you have to be willing to make adults complaining about parking or traffic a little uncomfortable. Child-friendly and car-friendly are very different goals. Second, these projects should be close to, and ideally linking, places that children spend a lot of time: schools, parks, community centers. Third, especially when your city hasn't done things like this before, it's okay and even good to make temporary projects that can be iteratively improved each year with lessons that you learn. Fourth, talk to the kids. They'll ask for things like bike installations. And fifth, don't just think about little kids. High schools and universities see a lot of foot traffic that can benefit from projects too.
And also, if we took seriously joy, like why not center joy in the city? This to me feels like a great way of centering joy.
Thanks for watching through to the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And a special thanks to our supporters on Patreon.